And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Go to the website and get the app. The app will get you delivery right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or head down to Dayton, Kentucky, Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner. Tell them to pump it up and get you some of the Galactic goodness, some tendies, some fries, some fried chicken, some coleslaw, French fries, you name it. They got it. Galactic Fried Chicken. It's out of this world. All right, let's get moving with a Sunday night edition of the Nightcap. Aaron is in a bad mood because his team won today.
Still in a bad mood from last night.
I'm gonna have to get your daughter into Frozen so you can listen to Let It Go 30 times on repeat every day.
I'm good on that.
Oh boy. So we'll get to the Big 12 and all the goings on yesterday in the league, and quite a bit actually. It was an interesting day. Outside of what we had to deal with, but there's some other things going on in and around the Bearcats that we have not touched on this show. So this will be a good place to kind of catch up on things that we haven't talked about essentially since the BCJ pod on Wednesday. First off, over the weekend, they did get an edge commitment in Micah Coleman from Eastern Washington. Had a pretty good season last year, 38 tackles and 6.5 sacks, or tackles for loss, 6.5 tackles for loss. Athletic, long arms. If you watch the tape, looks like a guy that gets off the ball pretty well on the edge. Does that mean I think they're done at edge? No, I'm sure they'd like to take, if they could take 5 of them, they probably would with how little pass rush they had this year. But I don't think it'll necessarily, be the only one that they take. There you go. A good look at Micah Coleman. He's from Reynoldsburg, Ohio, and will be a Bearcat next year. Thoughts, Aaron?
Just a homecoming of sorts. He's the kind of guy that you had been banging the drum for all season last year that we didn't have on this roster. The guy who is tall, bendy, long, and quick off
has
the
a little
snap.
speed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Give me as many of those as you can go get, because there just weren't any. There wasn't enough of it, nearly enough of it on the roster. So. Add him to Brendan Sorsby. You have your quarterback and a piece of the edge rushing puzzle. Now go get some defensive backs, huh? Like 5 of them. I mean, what they say, 12 to 15 guys, a quarterback. You need at least 1, maybe 2 wide receivers, a linebacker,
running back,
1 or 2 defensive linemen, a running back. You're at 7. If you got 7 more spots, maybe a tight end, and then go get as many corners and safeties as you can get in here that you think can help you going forward. 4, 5, 6, I don't care. Go improve the places that you weren't good enough. So there you go on that. We're going to get you next. Women today, congratulations. They managed to pull out a victory in the women's crosstown shootout. 69-47. They dominated the game. And Aaron, if nothing else, get Katrina Merriweather an honorary spot on the bench for the shootout next year. She's 11-0 in her career versus Xavier.
That's pretty good. At the very least, she should be right behind the bench, right in that first row. Her and her team.
Honorary seat, first chair, like right where Wes sits. She gets your chair today. Coach.
Wes doesn't sit down anyway.
I know, right? Katrina gets to sit there. She's 11-0 against Xavier. Good for her. Good for the women. They've played a really tough schedule, and they look like they're starting to round in the form. Although I think I saw that the Xavier women's basketball team has not won a game in a calendar year. It was the beginning of last December, the last time they won a game.
That's wild.
They're 0-8 this year, and I think they lost their last like 20-something games last year. Woof. That's a program in need of a bump. Things are not going well. Hate to see it. And then you want to get to the release of the new renderings from the indoor practice facility, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm trying to find them. Obviously, they're gorgeous. We've seen the first 4 images. Those have been out for quite some time. It was the additional 8 that included the pool where they would assumedly be doing
Training.
Well, I mean, I would
Like
think
weightless training, a recovery. You do strength stuff in the pool. So here, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
There you go. There's one. Go through this whole bad boy. Those are the ones that we had seen. Now you're starting to get a look at, kind of the what I guess looks like will be the entrance.
The detail that they included in the renderings, though, with like some of the stills and some of the
yeah, like
some of the wallpapers and stuff, I thought was just fantastic.
The field storm against Houston, the Bearcat with the flag.
And this would be your
that's a
lobby.
player lounge.
Yeah.
No, that's a player lounge. So that's where the players will get to hang out.
Xbox, PlayStation, the same thing that looked like what the basketball facilities set up for their guys.
For the men. Generally, they had like some TVs and then another area for like gaming. I don't know if they'd do it where like these 2 TVs on the left would have TV, and then the other 2 would have video game systems. But whatever the case may be, very nice player lounge. Team meeting room overlooking the practice facility, locker room. That would be kind of the lobby area. Training room, dining room. There's the pool. Then you're back outside. There's the field. Shortened. It's a 100-yard field. Everybody don't freak out. And then I guess those will be what the team breakout rooms look like.
Which that particular one, you had Kobe, Sauce, and Archel Hawkins. Just going to be cool to see what they do with some of those rooms as
well. The graphics and designs,
Timeline is still supposed to be spring of 2025. So we'll see if they are able to hit that deadline or not. But got to be excited for that building because it's going to be a dream from what we've seen thus far.
My understanding is the indoor practice field should be ready by next season. So that like when the weather gets bad, they'll at least have the practice field, and then the inside of the facility will take until spring 2025 in different phases. But yeah, I do think they plan this by the end of summer to have at least the practice field ready to go, so they're not at Nippert constantly. Anything else you want to get to?
Luke Kandra.
Yes. Second team Walter Camp All-American. First team Walter Camp All-American, right?
Second team.
Second team. So yeah, congrats to Luke. I think I saw The Athletic had him. They rated all the transfers in the country, and they had him as the number one guard transfer in the country out of the transfer portal last year. So a lot of postseason accolades for Luke after a really good year for him, both in run and pass blocking. I think by grade, he was 1 or 2 in both.
He also becomes their 4th All-American in the last 3 seasons, and that's certainly something for this program to hang their hat on.
Absolutely. There's not a lot of those, not as many as people think when you compare it to how many players are out there. So
sure,
good for those guys. Good for Luke. Let's get to the Big 12 basketball. You didn't have anything else, did you?
I did not.
Okay. Big 12 basketball. Kansas by 9 over Missouri. They controlled that one. Missouri tried to make it a little interesting late, but Kansas playing really well. I love me some KJ Adams. I don't know how much Kansas you've gotten to watch, but
I haven't been able to take in any Kansas.
He's so good, man. Everybody talks about Hunter Dickinson and their guards. KJ Adams is one of those old Bearcat dudes that just every time it feels like something big is going to happen, he's the dude that does it. Love watching him play. So
nice.
No surprise there. Houston over Jackson State, Texas over Houston Christian. Utah picks up their first loss of the season, 73-69. Or BYU, picks up their first loss of the season to Utah, 73-69. Our brief friend, Gabe Madsen, led Utah with 17 points. Aaron.
How little we got to know him.
BYU had just been blitzing people all year, and it sounded like early, tell me if this sounds familiar, early they couldn't get their offense going. And by the time they did get their offense going, it wasn't in time enough. And Utah wins the rivalry game.
It's a quick recipe for how to lose a game.
Yeah. Oklahoma moves to 9-0, 79-70 over Arkansas. The Muss Bus is struggling. They are 6-4 on the year, Aaron.
Old Jeremiah Davenport had 12 in that one. Actually, the second leading scorer for Arkansas.
Yeah.
Coming off the bench.
They've been starting him some and bringing him off the bench some, but he's been playing about the same amount of minutes. So good to see him have a good game. TCU picks up their first loss of the year, 74-66 in Toronto. Aaron,
I don't understand it. A Hall of Fame game in Toronto. Still don't understand it.
Even for at least an MTE, you would have a couple days. Like this is a 1-game event in Toronto between Clemson and TCU. Like Purdue played in it. Zach Edey is from Canada. So that was a homecoming for him, right? Like that makes sense. He's like, going to be a top 2 or 3 player in the country again. And you bring him to Toronto for the home crowd to love their guy up.
Yeah,
Clemson and understand. TCU. Did everybody else just not answer the phone?
There's nothing in the review as to why they played this game there in Toronto or why a Hall of Fame series game is in Toronto and not in Massachusetts.
Well, I'm sure they have some kind of basketball Hall of Fame in Toronto.
The Canadian?
I don't know.
I guess. I don't know.
Maybe. Steve Nash. Steve Nash, there's 4 people in it. But no, like I said, I get Purdue being in the game. I don't get where the event organizers were like, let's go get Clemson and TCU. That'll really bring them to Canada in December. I don't understand the logic. Kansas State gets a win over LSU. West Virginia, we said this is important. They needed to beat Drexel. It wasn't a blowout, but they got it done 66-60. That Kansas State stuff, man, I'm fascinated to see. It doesn't seem to be affecting the locker room, but I don't know. It's a weird deal. And now Naquan Tomlin, who essentially the president punted from Kansas State for undisclosed reasons, is in the transfer portal and will be eligible whenever he enrolls somewhere, like over the next week or two.
Weird stuff.
And he had a list of like 17 schools that had already reached out, like, hey, you want to come play for us next week? Come on down. Free agency.
There is some action today as well, as Iowa State blew out Prairie View 107-56. UCF lost to Ole Miss by 2 at UCF. And Oklahoma State currently up 15 on Tulsa with about 4.5 left in that one. That one, I don't know what the Battleground 2K presented by Basketball University is, but that's awful lot of words for a title on this game.
Is it in Canada?
I don't believe so. That one, nope, it's in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So
okay, that makes a little more sense.
Far more sense than having a team from Texas.
You see, because Tulsa is in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then Oklahoma State is in Oklahoma.
Sure.
And then they go to Oklahoma City and they play a neutral site game. They don't
things that make sense.
They don't go 3,000 miles away from Texas to Canada,
where nobody has any ties to that country. Out of country, not even out of state, out of country. What are we doing here?
Oh boy. Hopefully, maybe somebody in the chat will be a Clemson or TCU fan, and they can enlighten us as to why these teams were in Toronto to begin with.
Can you fill me in?
All right, let's get out of here. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.